here we have Electric Grand 80 from Waves. All right, let's go ahead and stop that. Electric Grand 80 from Waves, obviously an electric piano instrument. This video will be the same thing as reading the manual, as we're going to go through absolutely everything here. So we'll start up here at the top. You can see we have Electric G80 right in this area here. That is the library that we're using, the HD version. Now, whenever you install Electric Grand 80 or any of the Waves pianos, you'll have an option to install just the SD version, the standard definition, the high definition, or you can install both. Obviously, the SD version will take up less space on your hard drive and might be a little bit easier on your computer. We're using the HD version. If you're using the SD version and you want to use the HD version or vice versa, just click your folder icon there and you can just come down and select the library that you want. All right. We'll cover the rest of this top bar in a minute. So let's start over here with velocity curve. So the velocity curve, a lot of times this is used for different keyboards, different MIDI keyboards can be tuned different ways, and people can have different ways of playing. So just hit a C here. If the velocity curve was lower, now assuming I'm hitting a key on an actual MIDI keyboard, obviously that's going to be softer there as well. But depending on how your MIDI keyboard is tuned for the velocities, depending on how you like to play, this is where you will use your velocity curve, so all the way up. And of course, this not only affects what you play in, it also affects any MIDI that you happen to have on your track. So I'll play this here. We can turn down the velocity curve. So the same velocities are going into the piano, but I've changed the velocity curve, that's triggering Electric Grand. So this is more of linear here. Go up, it's gonna be much harder. All right, if you have any piano instruments, you already know what the velocity curve is. On to the format. We'll go to the manual for this, just for a better explanation. So the format control changes the sound character, but not the pitch, okay? Each step equals a half tone. This means that when set to -12, the piano sound character will be lowered by 1 octave, but the pitch will not change. So we're not changing the pitch. We're not tuning this piano with format, all right? So let's go over here, I guess. We take the format down. All the pitches are the same. It just has a sort of a darker character. You can almost think of this as brighter or darker. So darker to -12, brighter say up to +12 there. All right, we go to a different sample here. Turn it back down a bit. Same pitches, right? Same exact pitch. So C +6, it's going to be much brighter here. But of course, it's the same pitch. Alt click, put that back into the center there. On to the main control. Now the main control affects the samples, the piano samples, and not say the key up samples, the mechanical samples, or the pedal samples. This is not the same thing as volume. Okay, and you can read that in the manual if you want. So the main control is the sampled sound of the piano without the mechanics and release sounds. It's not the same thing, as volume, because we have a separate volume control right there. All right, so if we turn the main way down, let's drag it down here, hit a key. You're still hearing some of these mechanical sounds. You're not going to hear a pedal in this case, but none of these samples of the actual piano. So you can just balance out the samples of your piano with the samples of the key up, the mechanical, and the pedal there. Come down here, grab this. Really hearing that mechanical. Turn that down. A lot of key noise. All right, so that's your main. You're probably going to have main all the way up. most of the time. Key up, mechanical pedal, all of this is pretty self-explanatory. So we can pull pedal way up, for example, here. See if there's any pedal. You can hear that pedal there. Okay. Pedal down. Mechanical noise. So this might be kind of cool for, you know, effects or something. And then key up noise. I'll just stop playback here. Hear that whenever I press down the key and let up. So you can decide how much of that sort of realism you want in there. Most of the time you probably won't want a ton, but you know, that's totally up to you. You can use it for effects and things like that. Compression, pretty simple here. So what sound do we have? Pretty good. We turn the compression way down. It's a little more dynamic overall. Especially that soft part there. You hear the difference here? Right? And let's compress that 100%. Right, much more present. The difference between, you know, the lighter played notes and the louder played notes are not as different whenever we compress. So you're probably not going to want that all the way up. You're probably not going to want it all the way down. Between 20 and 40, 20 and 60 actually, it's a good starting point. Let's try that. Works for me. Onto the sustain resonance. Pretty self-explanatory. Grab this here. Pull it way down. Or pull it way up. As you can see, it's getting out of hand there. It's really resonating. Way too much resonance, but again, control that however you want. Really resonating there. Pull that down. Something more reasonable. All right, on to our EQ. So we have bass, mid, treble, and this EQ is set up in a specific way. So pull the low end out. Pull all these down for now. If you look at what the EQ is set at, so the bass is a low shelf filter at 203 Hertz. The mid is a bell filter at 900 Hertz, and treble is a high shelf filter at 1.875 kilohertz. So to see that visually, it will look basically like this. Now, not the gain settings, but the shelf settings, the bell settings here. So here's a shelf, that low end for the bass there is essentially what that would be. Here's the middle, a bell filter there, and then the high end. That's essentially what you are adjusting with those controls. Okay? So if we want the bass way up, it's a very mid-heavy piano, so I tend to pull the mids out, at least somewhat. We pull them way in. It's already pretty mid-heavy. So pull it down a bit, a little more low end, and then use that treble to pull in some sparkle. Of course, adjust that to taste. Too bright, just pull it down a bit. Of course, you have your format control. It's going to change the character of it, make it a little darker. So we still have the treble up a bit, but the character is different. All right, so that's your EQ, then volume. I mean, come on, you know what volume is. I mean, we all know what volume is. Turn it down, turn it up. Then we have a brick wall limiter. Now keep in mind, whether it's on or off, you know, even when it's on, you can still clip, okay? Turn it on. But we can still clip here, so Turn it way up. Brick wall limiter is on. Clipped here, clipped in our mains as well. So you can still clip. Don't think it's gonna keep you from clipping. It's just the brick wall limiter for the actual samples there. All right, so that's the main area of Electric Grand. Sounds pretty good. On to this top bar again. Here we have a tune section, so you can tune this up, tune it down. This is actually tuning those samples, so you can use this to fine tune if you're playing with other instruments and something sounds a bit off. You can tune it up or down right there. Of course, double click, enter your values. Let me make sure I put that back to 0. Then we have this velocity check mark right here, and this corresponds to our presets. All right, so you'll see your preset right here. Go down here, come here to load. You can load up presets. You can, of course, use your arrow keys. So right now it's checked. If I switch presets, you can see it change a little bit. Go through a few of these. You can see the velocity change because we have this checked. Go to the next preset, changes again. Go back, changes again. If this is not checked, and I set my velocity somewhere for whether I have it set for my specific keyboard, my playing style, or this is just where I want the overall velocity curve to be, so I'll put it way down here, for example. Now it's not checked. I'll change presets, and you can see the velocity curve is not changing. Okay? So if you have your velocity curve set up, and you don't want it changing whenever you're going through your presets, untick the velocity setting. If you want it to change with the presets, just tick it. Now change the preset, and it will change corresponding to whatever it was set up for that preset. All right, here is your presets here. You can navigate through them like this as well. Comes with quite a few presets there. We'll look at those in just a minute, but let's go on and look at our effects section here. All right, so we can turn off all of the effects with this one button. You can also turn all of them on or off individually with your buttons up top. So I'll turn all of these off except for our tremolo. For our tremolo, we have rate. We can sync or go to free. So just take your setting over here to the free side and set that up free. Of course, you have your depth control to hear that. You get really crazy with it if you want, or we can have it in sync. Turn off the tremolo, maybe auto pan. Same thing, sync to free. Pull the depth up to really hear it. Make it quicker. Or go over to the free side. Turn that off. Have a phaser. Same stuff here, sync or free, depending on what side of the knob you're on. Onto a chorus, just the depth control for that. Make it a bit more surrounding, like it's swirling around. And reverb, turn that one on. So here we have our mix, we have our pre-delay, which of course the pre-delay is going to let sort of that initial attack come through before the reverb comes on. Then the time and then the damping of that as well. We can always check the manual if you want. So the reverb damp will decrease the level of high frequencies during the decay as a factor of the reverb. So decrease the level of high frequencies during the decay. So whenever it decays out, if there's too much of that, so swirliness up in the upper end, you can damp that off a little bit. Of course, the time controls, the pre-delays, all of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, right? Your mix there, your reverb mix, and whatnot. If we pull that mix way up, it's not going to sound good here. But pull the pre-delay down, so it's starting pretty quick. Versus I can pull it way up. way up here. Go to a different sample. Again, doesn't sound good, but that's what you're mixing. Pre-delay do, and of course the time. How long do you want it? Do you want to damp those highs or not? You can hear it taking much longer to fade out with that time way up. So just adjust this to taste. Of course, you can turn all of them off at once, turn all of them on, set things up however you want. And you can get some pretty crazy sounds out of this piano, not just straight up piano sounds. It even comes with quite a few creative presets we'll look at real quick here. So this is with all the effects on. Turn the tremolo off, auto pan off. Turn this down a bit, turn this mix down. It's a pretty cool sound there. Turn them off. Back on. All right, so that's everything about the Electric Grand 80 from Waves, and the other pianos will be similar to this, by the way. If you have, different ones, of course, you can load your presets, which again, we're going to get to in just a second. You can also save your own presets. You can hit the question mark icon that will bring up your manual here if you ever get confused. And also, this instrument is not just a plugin. You can also run it standalone. It will be right in your list. So Electric Grand 80 right there. So you can run it standalone as well as a plugin. So that said, let's look at a few of the presets here. Go here to load. I'll go to the initial. This full reset. Here's bright. Way too bright for that. Here's full body. So that velocity curve is way too much for this MIDI here. I would probably turn that down a bit. And I would pull this mid down. I don't like the MIDI, the sort of mid sound of this too much because it's already very mid heavy. So that's probably a little better there. And I'd probably turn this on and put a little reverb on that. Mix it up. That's probably good. A little less on the compression. More of that mechanical noise in there. Let's go to something else. So here's plain vanilla. Let me go to a different sample here. Switch the preset. Simply bright. Switch it again. Here's regular vanilla. Switch it again. Vanilla 2. Here's 15 inches per second. So this one has some effects on it. You can see the 4 amps turned up. The velocity curve is down. A little bit of pedal noise compressed. Bass is down. Mid, treble up pretty high there. Reverb, phaser. Let's go to some of the more crazy ones here. Let's come out here to wet. So effects, a bunch of different things in here. So mellow jello. Switch it over. Mr. Mystery. My go-to. .3D chords. So some pretty crazy stuff you can actually get with this piano. Let me go to this creative section. Come down to say long cinematic. So much different than just a straight up, piano there. Phaser pad. Next one, the Big Dipper. Thin long tail. So I don't need to go through all of these, but you can get the idea. Here's kick and stick. So as you can see, the main is turned down, mechanics is way up, compression is way up, effects are on, bass is way up, mid and treble way down. So you can do some cool stuff with this piano. So let me actually set this up to something that I think is usable. Velocity curve up just a bit. Main all the way up. Key up a little, not much on the mechanical. Bit of the pedal, just maybe for realism. Compression's about okay. A little more. The resonance. I like a little more of the bass. Less of the mid. More of the treble. Turn this down. Turn the limiter on. And effects, let's see. A little phaser, but not a ton. Put this rate at about a quarter. A little bit of chorus. And some reverb. And that should be okay. There we go. If I wanted a little brighter, I might pull the 4-man up. Might actually pull a little more chorus in there, a little more of the reverb, a little more time. Pull the high damp down a bit, maybe the pre-delay down, slightly more of the phaser, and the velocity curve down just a bit. That's too much of the phaser. So that is the Electric Grand 80 from Waves. You can, of course, get it at waves.com. You can buy it individually. It also comes in several different bundles, including gold and, of course, the pianos and keys bundle, as well as plenty more. And if you want to save 10% on all of your Waves purchases, not just the Electric Grand, but literally anything, bundle or single plugins, there is a 10% off code in the description below. So that is Waves Electric Grand 80.